I don't remember when I first heard about Anthem, but I do remember that I was very excited for this game long before it was even released. You see, this game was not just gonna be any looter shooter, this was gonna be a hero looter shooter. It was gonna be like Warframe, but it was gonna be with bigger explosions and with better cooperative gameplay. I was looking very much forward to this vast universe that you could explore. It was supposed to be filled with things that you could do and people you can meet and interact with. So after watching the trailers and seeing a lot of hype videos about it, I actually did go as far as to even pre-order the game, and that was the first time I have ever done that. And then the game launched. And I think you all remember the launch of Anthem and how messed up that was. So we were promised a pre-release, but it was not actually a pre-release, it was more like a closed beta. And that felt a little bit deceptive and I was not too happy about it. But I was still staying optimistic because, to be fair, the first impression of the gameplay itself was actually really good. I like the flying mechanics, I like the graphics, I actually just enjoyed flying around and getting to know the flying mechanics and to explore the universe. I actually thought that was really nice. The sound effects are just amazing, I love the explosions, it's really immersive and the graphics were so good. So all in all I do find that this game, it does have huge potential and I couldn't wait for it to get properly released. I am pretty busy, so I don't have too much time to play games, so often games they kind of seem fun at first but then I lose interest, but Anthem was one of these games that I just couldn't wait to get home from work and then start playing. This is kind of a rare thing for me, few games have that effect on me, so I do say that there is something about this game that really does appeal to me. But just at one point, suddenly the game just seemed to stop being funny and I don't know what happened. Nothing had changed, it was the same game. I hadn't reached a certain point where there was nothing else to do, there was still a lot left to do, but I just suddenly lost interest completely. I have thought so much about why a game, which is obviously good, could suddenly become so dull and tasteless. Nothing has changed, on the contrary there have been many updates and small improvements that actually made the game better. But still I do struggle to see why I should keep playing this game. It's like there's nothing fun really to do in it. So here's the thing, I have not given up on this game yet, I do think it has good potential and it is one of my favorite types of game. It is a hero-based looter shooter and it looks like Warframe, which is my favorite game of all time. So I made a list of things that I thought would have improved Anthem and made it a good game from the start. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with me or not. And if you have your own suggestions, that would be nice to hear that as well. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. First of all, I do think that Tarsus should be a social hub. I know that they made some poor excuse that Tarsus is supposed to be a single player experience, but I don't really get it. The game is supposed to be a social game, and it is technically possible to make these hubs because they have one already. As opposed to the poor single player experience that Tarsus has proved to be at the moment, I do think that it could benefit a lot from being a multiplayer experience. It doesn't have to be a big hub, just a few other people, it would help to make it seem more lively. The current NPCs that are roaming around in Tarsus, they are too NPC-like, they do not seem that they have a mind of their own, and that is why it would be so much better if other players were there with you. I think that BioWare had a vision to make this a very unique single player experience. You can actually tell that from the original gameplay video, but the end result is nothing like it. The NPCs are static, they stand in their own place, and there is no reason why other players should not be able to participate in your version of Tarsus. Some more biodiversity would not hurt the game either. Like I said earlier, I do like just flying around and looking at the world because the graphics are pretty good and I do like the nature as it is right now. The problem is that this does get old kinda quickly because it's either dungeon or jungle. It would be nice with some different biomes. For example, you could have a desert area where everything is much hotter and maybe your jets they heat up a little faster. This would make you have to do landlocked combat, and it looks differently just for a change. Another one could be a snowy area, maybe up in the mountains. I think that could be pretty cool. Maybe here you could just fly indefinitely because of the cooling effects. I do wish to see something like this in the future, like a snowy area. Not just for like a Christmas special, but as like a permanent area where it is always snowing. It just makes the world more enjoyable to explore if there are different things to see instead of just the same things over and over. Next thing is one of the more important things that I really wanted to have included from the start, and that is text chat. I am aware that there are some legal complications about having text chat in your game, apparently. But still, it's supposed to be a social game, and it doesn't really feel social at all. You're mostly just running around choices alone, speaking with NPCs who mean nothing to me at all, actually. And when you're in the game, you rarely meet anyone who uses microphones to speak with you. I have only ever met one guy who used voice chat, and his microphone quality was so bad that I really couldn't hear what he was saying. I was looking very much forward to making some new friends while playing this game, but it seems impossible since you cannot really communicate with other people. Another thing that I would have liked to see in this game that I think would add a lot of gameplay time to it would be a faction system. Also known as alliances in other games, but in Anthem, alliance means something else. I'm imagining there could be two factions of freelancers with different ideologies that you can join. They can be at constant war with each other to gain the most territory. Then the faction with the most territory would then be able to buy certain unique items. Or perhaps they would get some sort of permanent buff or something. I imagine faction wars something like this. There's one team who has a strider and a lot of NPC soldiers that they have to escort from one side of the map to the other. And then the other team, they have to destroy that strider. After the mission, if the team that escorted the strider was successful, they can get a percentage of the loot that was inside the strider as a commission. If the team that attacked the striders were successful, they would also get a percentage of the loot. They would not get the full loot because you could say that some of it was destroyed during battle, and that way the reward would be the same for either side. So this could be a sort of moving defense mission, and I think that's really fun, and I think that could actually work out in PvP, especially if you have NPC soldiers with you as well. And I think it could be even better if you could get rare resources or some very unique items from playing this game mode. Another simple thing that would actually make a big difference would be to have boss specific items. This means that certain bosses drop items that only they can drop. This is important because if there is a specific boss that drops an item that you really want, then you suddenly have a purpose for playing the mission that you can find the boss in. This would mean that you have to add a whole new tier of weapons to the game, and I'm not entirely sure how that will affect the balance of the game yet. But I do stand by my opinion that this is an aspect of loot grinding that I do like from other games. Since this is a loot grinding game, I really do struggle to see why they should not have included player trade from the beginning. It's all about the loot, and if they do a good job, there's gonna be so much loot in the game that you would not possibly be able to get all of it yourself. And that is where player trade helps out a lot. If there's a certain item that you like farming for, then farm those and sell them or trade them to items that are difficult for you to farm. That way you don't have to waste time on something that you don't like doing. And this is a level of social interaction that will make the game a lot more interesting as well. This also means that it is fun for you to check in on the game to see if the prices are increasing or decreasing on certain wares that you either want or that you want to sell. I do realize that it's difficult to manage an online economy, but other games have succeeded in this, so I don't see why it shouldn't be possible to do in this game also. And last but not least, I do think that it would be a good idea to add a sort of open world hub. The game has been pushing the open world aspect a lot. It kind of advertises itself as an open world and social game, but there's not really much point in playing the open world free roaming. Of course you do have the occasional world events, but I don't really think they are worth playing, and most of the time when you're free roaming, I'm in one side of the map and all the other people are in somewhere else, but not where I am or where I need them to be. And this is why I think it would be good to first of all increase the cap of the open world participants from 4 to something bigger. I don't know how much is technically possible, but as many as possible. You should also be able to access missions directly from the open world, and that seems to have originally been intended, but somehow it was scrapped. And then I also think there should be a hub in the open world. There are some ruins around on the map, and I do think that even according to the law, these used to belong to the freelancers. It would be nice at some point if people started moving in there again. Maybe there could be some unique shops there. Maybe there could be a place for you to replace your suit. And there could also be a sort of trading hub. Just imagine how cool it would be if you're roaming around in the open world and then you stop by one of these bases to switch your equipment and chat with some players, maybe recruit a party and go into a dungeon. Other games similar to Anthem has these features, and I do think it should be technically possible. So I do hope to see Anthem look something like this in the future. But let me hear what you think. Do you agree with my ideas, and what are your ideas? And do you even have any hopes for Anthem at all at this point? I'd very much like to hear that. So if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I hope I see you around.